Welcome to Nailed It, a podcast featuring business tips from industry leaders, presented by Clever Punch. Here's your host, Jade Flogerzi.
Hello, and welcome back to Nailed It, where we discuss business tips with industry leaders. So today, I'm so excited to introduce Lauren LaForge, a dynamic success, sales, and productivity coach who has dedicated her life to inspiring others and unlocking their potential. Now, Lauren's career began at 18 when she was a top producer in door-to-door sales, and by the age of 30, she had already founded and successfully run 2 businesses, and today, she travels the globe, 6 continents and 28 countries later, training sales teams at some of the world's top tech companies, including Google, Adobe, and Facebook. She's found the most success in life helping the overachiever, the hustler, or business owner who wants more out of life. With nearly a decade of experience as a sales and productivity coach, Lauren's mission is clear: to help people make more money, gain control over their day, and live with intention. So let's dive in and learn from one of the best in the business. Lauren LaForge, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Great. So what I'm so excited to discuss with you today is a very dirty word, the topic of sales. So there's very few people in the world who say, I love sales, but we work with business owners and you work with business owners, and many of them are either responsible for selling their own services. They are wearing the sales hat, or they might have a team, usually with our audience, a smaller team. They might even have estimators, which is, they're wearing a lot of the sales responsibilities with that role. So with that being the case, what would you say for someone who says, I'm just not good at sales, which is what we run into a lot?
Yeah, the sales absolutely is this dirty word. People feel that I'm being annoying, I'm pressuring someone, I don't want to be seen in a bad light. And so there absolutely is a big cloud of fear around sales. And ironically, if you can get past the stigma and enjoy the process of sales, sales is simply you being curious about solving someone's problem. And ironically, salespeople it's the highest paid profession in the world. If you can see it in that way, you don't have to go to become, 12 years of medical school and 12 years to become a lawyer. You actually can be paid more in sales. And so if you can take that mindset of, wow, this is an honor to be in this profession, and if I can nail it, I will actually have the ability to make great money and live a life with intention. So one thing is just demystifying and taking away the negativity around the word sales. Sales is actually, I think, to me, it's an honor to be in this profession and to do it with enjoyment. The biggest suggestion I say to people with sales is if you can be curious and be a good listener, then you will do great at sales, because truly a great salesperson is just solving someone's problem. So the negative sometimes connotation we have with sales is you walk into a room and they just vomit at you all the options that you have, and you have to pick one of them. I'm sure one will be a right fit and there's no option of no. And when we can instead stand back and say, hey, I'm here to listen. What are you looking for? What problem do you want to solve? And we actually become a bit more of a therapist role. We listen more than we talk. And then based on what they've shared with you, you can then suggest the 1 or 2 solutions you have that may be a good fit. That allows the person to feel like they're buying and not feeling like they're being sold. So I always encourage people to be great at sales, be a great listener, and be curious. It will take you so far in sales.
Do you run into a lot of different personality types? Like, I think that's another misconception too, is people think that they have to have a certain type of personality. And in the industries that we work in a lot of times people don't feel like they have that personality. Usually when people start a business, they start it because they love the work. Mm-hmm. They love in our case, the service that they provide. They love doing the work, but then they don't feel like they have what they think is a different personality. Have you ever come across a personality where it just doesn't work? They don't make a good salesperson?
Great question. There's some personalities that can naturally thrive in sales. So absolutely, if you're familiar with the DISC assessment, it's a personality assessment that I reference often, because top salespeople or natural salespeople tend to be the I. They are those influencers. They're naturally extroverted. They're naturally curious, and they naturally like to make connections. So that is my dominant. And oftentimes, a lot of salespeople take on that dominant part of being extroverted and curious, being people. However, it doesn't mean if you're another strong personality style that it makes you any less talented at sales. As long as you stay in that space of being inquisitive and curious, you will do well. So there are people, perhaps if you are more of a background, I work with a lot of accountants who, their natural skill set is the opposite. It's the C in the desk. They're cautious. They're really focused on accuracy. What is the right answer? And so typically that personality style, they are a little less agile in the moment to present a solution, and they really want to tell you the 5 solutions that they have in detail, and they can overtalk the sale. And so I think it's helpful to understand your personality style. You can just Google online to take a free DISC assessment, and knowing where you naturally land can help you adapt your selling style to be the type of person with that personality style, to not perhaps be too direct with someone, or not be too weak if you get an objection and you just accept the objection instead of answer it. So I absolutely think that you can, in all personality styles, thrive in sales. If you understand your personality style, you can be more strategic in how to adapt to be a person who listens more, stays more curious, and has a shorter pitch, a more curated pitch to the prospect.
Nice. So a big part of sales an active part of sales is outbound calls. And we're in a situation right now where we're coming off of those COVID years. In construction, those were crazy years. Companies couldn't keep up with the demand. They had supply chain issues. They had more work than they can handle. But now we're definitely seeing things are getting back to more of a level flow. And businesses want to keep their pipeline full, and they want to see those projects out on the horizon. So they're starting to think more about being active in reaching out. How would you motivate somebody who needs to make those, you could call them outbound sales calls, relationship calls? Because we all know what that feels like when you sit down, you have a list in front of you, and you just aren't feeling motivated to make the call.
Absolutely. One debunk, I love sales, and that is always still a hurdle. If it has to go from I'm not doing something to I am doing something, we call it activation energy. And we actually face it before we do a workout. We face it before we sit down to organize our taxes. We might face it before you have to clean your house when someone's coming to visit and you're like, So recognizing it's not actually specific to sales. Typically in a book by Mel Robbins, and she calls it the 5-second rule. In it, she talks about truly counting down from 5 to 1 to get yourself into something. And ironically, that applies to all things that perhaps feel scary, difficult, and outbound sales calls, outbound follow-up calls. Interrupting someone, however you want to think about it, is exactly that thing. It can feel heavy to get started in. Once, though, you do that first call, if you notice, things flow and it feels easy and it feels fun. It's the getting started that can be hard. One thing I think is really important is you want to make sure you have a really clear why, that your why is stronger than the fear, because it's that why that's going to pull you through the fear, because the fear is there for even the most seasoned salespeople. The fear exists in the same way that there's the fear to get up and put on your sneakers and go for a 5-mile run. There's that hesitation when it's not born into that natural habit. It's the activation to get started. So clearly know your why. Is your why competition? Being the best? Is your why's recognition, getting your name in the paper, being a part of some industry magazine that your home is featured in? Is that exciting to you? That's what you want to be running towards. Is it perhaps money and the income that can come from it? The things you can do with that money? Is it custom building your own dream house? Is it getting the beach house? Is it taking your family to go travel in Italy for 2 weeks in the summertime? If we have a clear picture of your why, typically that will help it be faster to get activated and pick up the calls, because I want to get to Italy. So I'm going to make these 10 calls. I want to get an Architect's Digest. Okay, I'm going to make sure I make these calls. And so knowing your why is a really big part of it. I encourage people, get an image. We're visual people. And so getting an image of your why, even if it is just that one dream home, or imagine yourself on that magazine, that put that in front of you, put it on your wall, so that as you start to do your outbound calls, you're calling for that. And it doesn't matter what the person says. We know that through consistently showing up, just like consistently showing up at the gym, you're going to lose weight. If you consistently make the follow-up calls and sales calls, you will bring in more business, and your business is going to flow. So I'd say clarify your why, Recognize that it's a normal hesitation for anything that is a change of energy when you have to get that activation energy flowing. So those are the two biggest things I usually encourage people to identify to get yourself into action. The third thing that can help, since the activation energy is the hard part, you can try not to put the pressure that every day I'm having this outbound sales block, and instead, perhaps 2 days a week, have a 2 or 3 hour sales block. And so that you really can let yourself get into the flow versus trying to get started from zero every single day. So that's a technique that can help you to just get more calls done.
I love it. That third tip is amazing because it's true with most things that are difficult. Once you get started, it's easy to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
that leads me to my next question, because now you're on a call, or perhaps this would apply to being in person during a meeting face to face with somebody. Do you feel like there's some important factors or some core pieces, some core components that contribute to a successful sales meeting that someone can keep in mind, or someone could even gauge that the meeting went well, that they hit all the markers that they need to?
Absolutely. As in anything that you study, sales actually is a studied craft. There are best practices, there are frameworks to follow. So on one side of it, if you haven't studied the art of sales, I highly encourage you to look up a LinkedIn learning video or Google online to get some great frameworks to follow. It is a skill set, just like learning to ride a bicycle or go surfing. When we can know the do's and don'ts, the right process to follow, it can help you feel more empowered. You're not just winging it. You have a process and a plan. I highly encourage people to get a sales script for yourself. Doesn't mean you're a robot on your sales call, but it allows you to nail the most important parts and to focus on things like listening. So you're not just worried about what am I going to say next. You always have that pre-thought, pre-organized sales script to follow. So that can be really helpful to have in your sales conversations. That said, of the parts of the sales conversation, which for me, I believe there are 5 key areas of the sales conversation, the most important part that I feel is the curious part, the discovery part. We say that this should actually be of an hour consultation. This should be about 30 minutes of that hour is you gathering information and getting to know the details. This is like turning on a light, so then you know how to get to the other side of the room. If you don't turn the light on and you just start pitching, you're going to run into some furniture. You might get injured. We may never get the sale. You may not get to where you want to go. So staying curious really gives you a lot of visibility into this prospect's motivation, budget, timeline, decision urgency, decision makers. There's all these things we can learn if we just ask the question rather than assuming or spitting out 5 variations. Let's ask first. Staying curious. There's an old school phrase. We say you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, so that you listen more and you talk less. It's very true in sales. There is a bad stigma. Salespeople usually like to talk a lot. And if you can do the opposite, if instead you can ask great questions and be a great listener, you'll learn all the information you need to then make a suggestion that they can say yes to versus overdoing your sales pitch. So I think the most important part to start is to do a great discovery, get to know all the important information. And psychologically, when you ask questions and someone is talking about themselves, they actually feel important. They feel valued. They feel heard. So you're creating a trust in that relationship because you're also listening, allowing them to speak. So that part is also percolating while you're in this discovery situation. The second part that I think is important that a lot of people will mess up in a sales pitch is that they overtalk the sale. So I've learned all the information and now I'm going to just spew all the variations and here's my memorized thing and I'm putting it towards you. And I think it's really important to curate and have a customized, succinct sales pitch. So based on what they shared with you, it's your job as that therapist to listen, and then you pull up the key information and then you pitch specifically, like holding up a mirror back to them. Here is this product I think you'll like, or here is this custom built home I think you'll like. And these are the reasons. And you reflect it. You mentioned that, and this is what this home has. You mentioned that, and this also is this thing. And this part you also mentioned, I think you'll really like. So you just customize that pitch. Your custom built home that you're presenting in this architect version may have 50 amazing elements. Great. Pick the 3 or 4 that are most pertinent based on what their needs are. That will allow the person to not get overwhelmed with information and to easily buy, easily say yes, because you just reflected, I heard you, and here's why I think this is a good match. The other version of that is, yes, sharing everything. The person's overwhelmed with information. They start to get distracted. They start to look away. You notice they're checking their clock. If it's virtual, in person, they may actually check their watch or their phone. Watching that body language allows you to recognize I am over talking this sale. So the sale doesn't need a lot of pitching and overselling. It's actually quite the opposite. The more simple, if you can make it easy for someone to go, oh, you get me. You seem like your product's a good fit. I can say yes to this. That's fantastic. So the actual pitch part should only be about 5 minutes, while the discovery should be about 30 minutes. So just recognize, double check for yourself. Am I trying to over pitch and am I not listening enough? It's typically the opposite. 5 minutes discovery, 30 minutes pitching. So attempt to switch that and you'll find more success in your sales conversations.
I love it. That the third part is very relatable, I think, to a lot of business owners because they are experts in what they do and they are very passionate about what they provide. And they feel very confident and compelled to sometimes prove to people why they are the best and all the value that you're getting. But you're right. Each person individually is going to have a different set of needs and kind of an emotional tie to what is the most important thing to them. I have to remind myself that all the time of like, just share those pieces. Cause yeah, you see the eyes become like a glazed donut after a couple minutes of going on and on.
Our attention span, they actually say, is only 5 to 7 minutes to just really be listening to information. Otherwise, our brain starts to problem solve. And with smartphones and technology today, we reach boredom faster. So it's just important to be succinct and work with those brain patterns. If they can only focus me on for 5 to 7 minutes, what are the highlights I'm going to put out there? And recognizing who's the hero of this story when you're pitching. Sometimes if we go through here are all my awards and accolades and here's the 20 versions of homes that I've built, it's all about you. And if we can instead let them be the hero of this story, it's their project that you're helping to be that guide on, that really allows you, you're only highlighting the things that are information that's pertinent to that hero's story. So know that you're the best. That's why they're talking to you. That's why you have a great website to reflect it. And in that sales moment, just bring up the parts that are going to help them feel proud to have chosen you to build their home or do their work.
I love it. Another important aspect in the world of sales is referrals and asking for referrals. This is huge because most business owners in these housing, design, architecture industries rely on referrals. Majority will say our business comes from word of mouth and referrals. So I wanted to ask you, how can someone ask for a referral without feeling slimy and icky about it?
Absolutely. It's a question I get often. And I agree, referrals are the quickest way to cash. I actually just hopped off the phone with a prospect of a financial advisor, and he was saying, we're doing this big campaign, then we do this conference, and then we do a one-on-one, and then this. And I said, what happened from all that rigmarole? I said, we got, one financial plan was made. I said, okay, good. And it was very little that he got back from this huge process of getting this prospect in the door. And I encouraged him, as I absolutely will encourage your audience, Jade, go for the referrals. It's like there's a tree and you shake the tree and the fruit falls and it's right there. Oftentimes, all the relationships, the amazing clients you've already been working with, they love you, they trust you, they're proud of your work, they're excited to share you with their audience, and they probably are already sharing you with their network. And so just recognize that is, I think, one of the fastest ways to have a really healthy book of business of clients that are like-minded, just like your other ideal clients. And there's that trust that's already baked in. Your sales cycle's faster. They're usually willing to spend more money with you because they're friends, because there was that connection. So if you're debating, do I do this really long, complex sales cycle, or do I just ask for a referral? Ask for the referral. It is the quickest way to cash to great new next business. That said, there's that discomfort part, the uncomfortable part of actually reaching this in your conversation. So I always say there's two types of referrals. There's a proactive referral ask and a reactive, more passive referral ask. The passive referral ask is still fantastic. It simply is us at the end of our conversation, and maybe you're connecting with a past client, checking in how things are going and saying, hey, by the way, I just wanted to let you know, I am actually looking to work with 5 new families this year. So if you have 5 families who are looking to get their home redesigned or their office, just let me know. Feel free to pass my name along. I'd love to be a part of their story. So you can actually having like a succinct number, not just like bring me anyone, but saying this is my goal and I'd love if you could help me with it. They're usually excited to jump on, but it's passive. I'm not saying like, give me some names now. I'm just saying, hey, throwing it out there. Another nice little thing you can add on to it is I'm not asking everyone, but I wanted to ask you because I loved our work together and I loved what we were able to create on your project. And so you also create a bit of uniqueness for them. And this is probably true. You're probably not asking everyone. You probably are only asking your ideal clients. And so tell them that. I'm not asking everyone. I'm asking you because I really love the work that we've done together out of curiosity, or here's these 5 people I'm looking for. If you know of someone, pass my name along. So that's passive. A proactive ask is actually saying the word who and describing observable traits that they may know. So it's kind of taking it one step further. You do not have to ask this way, but you can. The proactive will get you leads faster. So if you need to grow your business fast, do it the proactive way. If you're fine at the pace you're going, do it the passive way. And the proactive simply says, out of curiosity, who do you know who would be a good fit to work with me? I'm looking for families who, is our interior design example, but you're going to explain scenarios, who just moved into a brand new home, who, maybe the wife shared with you that she's, a friend of yours who's feeling like they're in a rut and they want to do something different with their home design this year. Or it's a realtor who really loves staging homes in a particular way, and that would be a good. So you mentioned the types of scenarios people are in. Who do you know who may be in that stage in their life right now? And you stay quiet. And you allow them the opportunity to think of people who fit those observable scenarios. So that's a way to do it proactively. And I always encourage people, you can proactively ask for actual clients, and you can also proactively ask for great referral sources. And so if it feels a little bit more comfortable, let's say if you are an interior designer and you do want to meet realtors with families moving into new homes, you then can say, I'd also love to meet realtors who are proactively helping families buy new homes. Who are some of the favorite realtors that you work with? And so we say this who question, which gives us the response of an actual name, but we're being specific of that industry or that personality style or the stage in life that someone's at. So that's the way to be proactive, which will help you get names faster. And then the last little part on referral asking is simply be really clear on how you want to get introduced. And I love a joint email introduction. That way I can then respond and say, hey, great to see you, and send them options. And it's just quicker to get on the calendar. And so if that's what you like, then just tell them that. If you like a text introduction, tell them that. Be really clear on how they can introduce you so that you don't just get your card passed out and you have no proactive way to follow up with that person. So I like to always tell people, who do you know? They list off some names. Okay, say fantastic. If it's okay with you, I'd love if you could just do a joint email introduction. That way it's easy for you and I can hop on the call. And then I always give them the ability to say no, because I'm a salesperson who's here to solve problems, not sell you. So I'll say, and if it seems like a fit to work with me, great. And if not, no big deal. I'm so excited to get a chance to meet them. So taking that pressure of the result off can also be a really nice thing to share. So both asks are valuable. Either are better than doing nothing. If passive is easier, great. If you want to go a little harder, faster, describe scenarios and ask the word who.
I've found in my experience that it's shocking how many connections you can have, people that love your work, that support you, that are always rooting for you, that haven't actively told anyone else about what you do. And then on the opposite of that, how that does happen when they're prompted. And I'm sure other business owners feel the same way, or if they haven't experienced that, when they start trying and being brave and asking who do you know and knowing their ideal client and describing them, how many people come out of the woodworks and you're like, are you kidding me? Like, we work together. Or we've even had employees where they're like, oh, I never thought about it, but my dad does so-and-so. I'm like, you've been here for a year and you haven't thought about it. So we do need that prompt. I've also found it's important for people to have clarity about what you do. A lot of times we have social connections, but we don't know our friends on that level. We don't really know what they do, what they specialize in. So just taking the initiative and describing how you can help other people can be a huge help too.
Absolutely. Yeah. I find there's so, even with my own clients, we'll be describing something. I'm like, wait, you like this niche? I know someone. And so, there's power of asking with clarity who exactly you want, and then have the freedom to rotate that. The next time you connect with them, ask for an introduction to, another specific industry. That's a good parallel referral. We say the more specific, the more terrific. And people have, if you look at your iPhone, right, or your phone, you have, 500, 1,000 contacts. So our brain just is vague. And if we can get specific with kind of memory joggers, it allows someone to that, and all of a sudden that face pulls up in their mind. So specificity and just asking, that they always say, right, that you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, says Wayne Gretzky. And it's the exact same thing with referral asking. So sometimes and then I encourage people, just like exercise, let it be a tangible goal. So if you say, I want to go and do, 10 squats, 2 days a week, and you really count that and you track yourself, you're going to have an amazing looking body by just this consistency of the basic effort. And so the same thing with referrals. If this is something that you'd like to improve in, go ahead and just perhaps it's on your calendar, maybe it's an index card, but count, give yourself credit. Say, I want to ask for referrals 3 times every week. So as the week goes on, you check this off and you get to be really proud of your controllable activity that we know is going to result in great new business. So I think, yes, that is huge, Jade. Just bring it up. Be clear. Help people jog their memory of who they can introduce you to.
Absolutely. Well, I know for myself, I loved this sales training class that I just got out of our podcast interview. I'm sure anyone listening feels the same way. If someone listening loves your approach and your style and your enthusiasm and like to know more about working with you personally, what's the best way for them to connect with you or find you?
Yeah, there's plenty more where this came from. I'm a big fan of how changing our sales techniques can absolutely change our results, which then impact our lives, our future, our children. As you were talking about the referral asking, I remember this client of mine who I never would have met if I'd never reached out to ask a client, hey, I've got this sales goal. It was a goal for myself. I said, I want 4 more clients. It was November. And I said, I want 4 more clients. Who do you work with who I should know? Who do you think would love to benefit from coaching and growing? And he introduced this one woman to me. She's now worked with me 5 years. We have changed her life. She has tripled her business. She's been able to take her daughter on all expenses paid trips to Greece, Italy, Hawaii, all these things she never thought she could do before. She has now introduced me to lots of other great clients. And if I'd never just picked up the phone and asked, he had her in his Rolodex the whole time. He hadn't thought to introduce her until I asked. And so I love this concept of we can change our lives and people around us by us being brave in sales, in solving people's problems with our great products and services. So there's a beautiful mission that comes with being great in sales and improving your sales. How can you find me? You can absolutely find me on LinkedIn. It's a place that's easy to connect. Actually, I have a LinkedIn learning course all about how to motivate a sales team. So feel free to look up my LinkedIn learning course. You can find me on my website, which is laurenlaforge.com. So pretty simple. And yes, I am usually living around the world. So you can also ask me the question, Lauren, where are you today? And it's usually some fun, exotic location. So yes, I'm excited to partner and help your audience, Jade, to grow in their sales and impact more people.
I love it. And we kept the conversation focused today on sales. We didn't even get into the benefits of having a business coach, success coach, somebody that is your ally, that's prompting you. Because if you're a business owner and you need to be active in this area of your business, who's holding you accountable? And so someone like Lauren, someone in a role like hers, can absolutely be that extra little nudge that you need to get on the phone to accomplish those tasks that you set for yourself each week. This has been a lovely conversation.
I agree. Being a business owner can be a lonely space. And so finding those allies of people who can help you be the person you get to be honest with and can push you to that next level of success. It's an exciting relationship to bring into your life. So awesome.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Jade.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Nailed It, business tips from industry leaders, brought to you by Clever Punch. Nailed It is all about connecting with people, building relationships, and helping each other. If you're interested in connecting with any of the guests on our episodes, you can find their contact info in our show notes or on the podcast page at cleverpunchco.com. You can also email info@cleverpunchco.com with any questions or feedback. I'm your host, Jade Flogerzi. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.